The connection between housing and health has been known for hundreds of years. In the early 1800s, public health officials recognized that when people didn't have safe drinking water, hot water for washing, a good way to get rid of garbage, good ways to get rid of cockroaches, mice, and rats, or enough fresh air, then they had more health problems. In more recent years, bad housing has been linked to a variety of other illnesses in which we're going to talk about in this presentation. So what is in a house? Well, there's a lot of things in a house. There's people, obviously, and then there's the building structure, actually how the house was built. The HVAC and the cooking systems, the bath and the kitchen systems, and all the people stuff, such as clothing, toys, household supplies, pesticides, cleaners, etc. So why are healthy homes important to us? Well, we spend 70% of our time indoors. Homes can affect health both physically and mentally. Most of us, especially children, spend more time inside than outside. The air we breathe and the things we touch inside matter. Housing also affects our mental health. Good housing can provide a sense of security, privacy, and control. So the hazards in the home we're going to talk about are asthma triggers, which include house dust, mites. They can cause asthma to develop in cats and dogs, cockroaches, mice, dust mites, tobacco smoke, and molds. Molds, which are mold in damp indoor environments, tobacco smoke, everyone knows what that is, lead, radon, and carbon monoxide. So we're going to talk about all these in details. And then we'll also talk about injuries in the home as well. So children spend 70% of their time in their house. And in relation to their body weight, children eat, drink, and breathe more than adults, which possibly increases their exposure to toxic substances. Children are also still developing. Exposure to contaminants is more harmful to their developing organs. And young children like to explore the world, and they often do that by crawling. They also put their hands and other objects in their mouths often, which also makes them high for exposure. Seniors, many older persons, spend up to 90% of their time indoors and often at home. Common indoor environmental hazards can trigger chronic obstructive pulmonary disease and asthma attacks. Breathing problems are easily triggered by tobacco smoke, pets, and dust. And among older adults, falls usually occur in the house and are the leading cause of hospital admissions, fractures, and injury and death in older adults. With age, the body's cooling mechanisms may become impaired, and living alone or being confined to a bed can further increase their risk of overheating. So, the 7 healthy home principles. While there's no recipe that can guarantee a healthy home, we'll learn about key principles that can help create healthier indoor environments. You'll hear about these principles throughout this lecture. In this lecture, we're going to introduce a new way of thinking about the home environment, an approach that considers the people living in the home, the building itself, and all the potential health problems. So the first thing is, we've got to keep a home dry. These are examples of moisture problems. This is rain from the outside that got inside. Basements and crawl spaces are often damp. The moldy walls in this picture are probably from rainwater that is not directed away from the house. Poorly managed rainwater and warm, humid outdoor air are the 2 most common sources of moisture in a crawl space. Condensation when it's cold outside. So mold due to poor insulation or wind blowing through the insulation. Mold around the window where there is no insulation at all. We also got to keep a home clean. Why do we want homes that are clean and easily cleanable? Well, for a couple reasons. There's less contact with dust, mites, mold, mice, rat, cockroaches, all which cause and trigger allergies and asthmas. Pesticides can cause a variety of health problems. Some sprays or powders used to kill insects or mice can cause skin rashes, headaches, dizziness, muscle pain, stomach cramps, nausea, vomiting, and breathing problems. Also note, we'll cover more on lead later on, but You want to clean to get rid of lead dust that can come from lead-based paint, which is usually one thing to consider when it comes to dealing with lead-based paint. Because lead is so poisonous and can cause so many health problems, there's a lot to learn in terms of avoiding lead-based paint. So clutter. The problem with clutter is it provides a place for pests like cockroaches and mice to hide, and it's also a place for dust to collect. The solution is to organize it whenever possible and use shelves and storage bins to organize. Keeping a house ventilated. Good ventilation reduces hazards. Remember, too much moisture can result in mold, and that can also provide the water that dust mites, cockroaches, and mice need to survive. Tobacco smoke, cockroach and mice droppings, and mold triggers those allergy and asthma attacks. We'll also talk more about radon later, but right now, remember that radon can cause lung cancer. Volatile organic compounds can come from things like air fresheners and can also trigger asthma and allergy attacks. Ventilation plays an important role in maintaining health. Poor ventilation can result in a higher rate of respiratory irritation, common colds, influenza, pneumonia, and bronchitis. Here it is. Higher rates of respiratory irritation, illness, and housing with poor ventilation results in these 4 things. At relatively low levels of carbon monoxide, a healthy person can feel fatigued. As levels increase, a person may complain of headaches, dizziness, weakness, or confusion. Carbon monoxide is often referred to as the silent killer. That's because it is colorless and odorless, and death can occur without the person even being aware that the high levels were existent. Over 15,000 people each year are treated in emergency rooms for non-fire related carbon monoxide exposure, and on average about 500 people die each year from non-fire related carbon monoxide exposures. Keeping a home pest-free. Mice drip urine and leave their dander wherever they go. Cockroaches leave their poop and shed skins. All of these in a home trigger asthma attacks and may even cause asthma. The chemicals that people use to kill pests pose a risk as well, some more than others. Children are more vulnerable because they are closer to the floor. They do not have a high tolerance for the toxins, and they put many things in their mouths. Pregnant women also are more vulnerable to pesticides. If pesticides are necessary, leave them to the professional. By using them yourself, you can make the pest problem actually worse. Pests require 3 things to survive: food, water, and shelter. Without any of the 3, they won't survive. Holes in the wall let mice and cockroaches in to hide. So the first thing to do to get rid of mice is to use a HEPA vacuum, or a standard vacuum cleaner equipped with an N100 or P100 air filter for all the areas with evidence of pests. Vacuuming is a non-toxic way to remove rodent and cockroach fecal droppings, cockroach egg cases, case skins, and bodies of insects, food particles, organic debris, and other dust. Live insects that are removed will generally be killed by the vacuuming process. Remove the vacuum bag at the end of the day, seal in a plastic bag, and throw away unless the bag can be burned. Vacuum locations: vacuum around the window and door frames, wall moldings, picture frames, and wall hangings, exposed conduits like pipes and wires, inside cabinets, drawers, and appliances like behind and under the refrigerator and stove, around furniture including the underside, baseboards, and floors. You want to use a special carpet attachment and eliminate carpeting wherever possible. Begin vacuuming or washing the operations at the highest locations, working towards the lowest, like from the ceiling towards the floor, to collect all the residual materials dislodged during the process. To wash, use the 2-bucket method. 1 bucket with soapy water and 1 with clean to rinse water. Change all the water frequently. Restrict the amount of water being distributed to ensure fast drying and ensure no water left behind for the pest. Never pour water directly onto the floor. Sponge mop generally restricts the amount of water left behind better than a string mop. When done washing, rinse the mops in hot water and hang to dry. Rinse buckets and turn over to dry. For washing some surfaces, use spray bottle application of the soap solution, then rinse with sprayed on clean water and wipe with a dry absorbent cloth, like a cloth diaper. Frequently change wiping cloths. Mechanically wash soiled cloths in hot soapy water. A super spring cleaning helps to find any creatures that are hiding and food resources that can cause allergies or asthma attacks. So, keeping a home safe. The most common cause of home injuries that result in death is falls, particularly for the elderly, poisonings, fires and burns, choking and suffocation, drowning, guns, and then what we categorize as other. Which age groups are most at risk? Well, like we said earlier, children and older adults. Older adults are categorized above 70. They tend to most be the most susceptible groups for home injuries. Adults 80 plus are 20 times higher risk of death due to injury, especially falls, than younger individuals. When the elderly do survive a fall, they take longer to recover and often do not fully recover. However, falls are the leading cause of non-fatal home injury for children from birth through 14 and for the older population. The highest rate of injury death for 1 to 14-year-olds is fires and burns. For infants, the highest rate of injury death is choking and suffocation. So, about half of household falls with second floor windows do not have window locks or safety guards to protect children. 82% of households keep medicines in unlocked drawers or cabinets, and 69% of homes with young children store household chemicals in unlocked areas. So, keeping a home contaminant-free. Can you really keep a home contaminant-free? Well, probably not, but you can make significant progress by evaluating carefully your buying decisions. You may be intentionally bringing in contaminants because the function that the contaminant provides, or the contaminant may be along for the ride. In this module, we'll be focusing on those buying decisions. We have already talked about pests and pesticides in the Keep It Pest Free, but we will talk about asbestos, lead, and mercury in this area and how to keep it maintained, because we need to focus on maintenance for the biggest resources. That leaves us with tobacco smoke, volatile organic compounds, formaldehyde, and all those that we'll discuss. So, environmental tobacco smoke. Tobacco smoke is an important contaminant source in the indoor air. Children who have a smoking parent are 3 times more likely to have respiratory symptoms than children who live with non-smoking parents. Volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, is a broad cast of chemicals that we use often for chemical purposes, but we breathe these inside our homes. It is tough to make broad generalizations other than to say that less exposure is better. If you want to understand whether the chemical is dangerous, you need to understand the chemical's hazards much better and the exposures involved. The risk is the exposure times the hazard. The list above is a start on the more significant VOCs you need to worry about, which includes air fresheners, cleaning products, sprays and coatings, formaldehyde, carpets, vinyl floorings, drywall, any kind of craft hobbies, and home maintenance. So, keeping a home maintained. In this area, we're going to be focusing on maintenance in general, and then on contaminants not addressed earlier that are associated with maintenance problems, such as lead-based paint, asbestos, and radon. All of U.S. housing stock, 40% of houses contain lead-based paint, because much of the old housing stock is prior to when lead was banned. Lead was banned from use in residential paint in 1978. the lead industry began voluntarily phasing out the lead in the paint in the 1950s. This chart shows the trend. Nearly 9 out of 10 homes built before 1940